Hello and welcome as the Ontario Hockey League celebrates Black Heritage Month. I am Rico Phillips, Director of Cultural Diversity and Inclusion for the Ontario Hockey League, and I want to share with you some of the people in our league who are history in the making. Today I'm joined by Sean Teakle, Assistant Coach for the Niagara IceDogs. Welcome, Coach. For those of you those of us that haven't met you before, can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and a little bit about your background in hockey and all that good stuff?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rico. And I love the initiative that you guys are putting together here. So can't wait to watch all these that you guys have put together. But I'm from Mississauga, Ontario. Started playing hockey at a really young age. I started probably skating around 3, 4 years old. Started playing at 5. Hockey's kind of always been my first love, and played all the way up. Played rep hockey in the GTA area. Played in the GTHL. Played some junior A in Oakville and Georgetown. Tried to go play some semi-pro after that, but I had some shoulder problems. So I had 2 shoulder operations, a couple concussions here and there. So tried to go play some semi-pro in Florida, and it didn't really pan out. Came back home. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I was working actually in a pro shop, just sharpening skates and doing skate repairs and stuff like that. And I actually had a friend that was in the pro shop. His brother played U21 AAA, and they had no coach. Their coach quit like right before the season, so him and his dad were taking over. And they were like, "Listen, like we've never really coached before. Like they haven't been around hockey very long. We like could like, would you be interested?" And I was like, "Guys, like I've never coached before. Like I don't really know what I'm doing. Like I'm not really sure." And they were like, "Come on, like, just come out, just come up for one practice, kind of see if you like it, kind of thing." One out, did a couple practices, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "Let's give this a shot. Like I got some spare time, not really doing much." Did that, and we actually ended up winning the championship that year.
Wow.
And this
That's
team had
great.
never won the championship before. And then after that, I just kind of, there were some kids that were a little bit older on the team, and they were like, "Hey, like you're pretty good at this. Like you should just try it." So I went around junior A and kind of the AAA loop, and I was looking and applying for jobs, looking for a coaching job, and I was lucky enough that Dan Curry and the Milton IceHawks took a shot on me in junior A. Um, and I started coaching there. And actually, the first year I actually started coaching was with my brother. He coached junior A for the Streetsville Derbies. So it kind of just, they took a shot on me at 21 years old and 22 years old, and I've been coaching ever since.
That is awesome. I think what I like most about your story is that you just never know where hockey will take you. And like you say, you took a
Yeah.
shot at it, and now look at you. You're making something for it, and people are looking up to you. You're a mentor in a big, big way. That's awesome. So, Sean, tell me a little bit, if you don't mind, about where you grew up in Mississauga. I mean, was what was the culture like there where you grew up?
I grew up in the Air Mills area, so I was like, Air Mills Twin Arena was like a 5-minute walk for me and my brother to get to the rink. Um, we grew up in a predominantly middle class, like probably white neighborhood. I would say um, like my parents are hardworking people, so they always try to provide the best for us. So we grew up in a pretty good neighborhood, and the culture around the neighborhood was great. Like we played street hockey all day long. I was lucky enough to have kids on the street that are around my age.
Yeah.
My brother's 3.5 years older. So they always stuck me in net, but we kind of always played road hockey and roller hockey and pond hockey. So we had a great upbringing, I would say. Like there was no real tormenting or anything like that, I would say, for us growing up early like that.
I understand. That's great to hear. I mean, so it sounds like a traditional Canadian lifestyle. That's coming from a guy from Michigan who we have similar, but certainly not to the level that you have down
Yeah.
there. So, being in a household that lived and breathed the sport of hockey, what were some of your early memories of the game? And take us through what it was like growing in a family that was always around the rinks.
Uh, it was amazing. I think, my brother played junior A, and obviously he coaches minor midget now. He coached junior A for probably like 12 years. My dad is the head scout of the Owen Sound Attack, actually. If not a lot of people knew that. He was at the Windsor Spitfires for 15 years, I believe, before that. So hockey's always been very prevalent in our families. As some people may not know, I come from a half black family. So my mom is from Jamaica, and all her brothers played hockey actually growing up once they came here.
That's awesome.
So hockey's kind of always been in both sides of the family. And just like growing up around it, it was awesome. Like I was always at the rink. I can still remember playing. Like I said, my brother used to stick me in net, so I liked going goalie. So I remember in paperweight, everyone used to take turns playing net, and tyke and stuff like that. And I can still remember playing in net and having my grandparents at the rink cheering me on. And obviously with them being visibly minority, I could always see them in the stands. They always stuck out to me, so I always knew where they were. So especially playing net, I always look up and I see my grandpa always cheering me on. So that stuff those are memories that I'll always remember.
That's great. So following your playing career, what were some of the things that you took away from your older brother, but as well as your father, as you moved up in the coaching and scouting ranks, all the way up to where you currently are as the assistant coach for Niagara?
A lot. And I think a big thing, especially with my dad, everything was about work ethic. Even as a player, it was never, oh, you scored 3 goals, you had a great game. It was, hey, like, you gotta get that puck out. There's a puck along the blue line there where you didn't get out. I didn't like the body language you had here. I think you gave up on a play here. It was always more about, as long as you show up and you work and have fun at it, we'll always provide and always give you the chance to further yourself. It wasn't always about the outcome. It was more about the process of what we were doing at the rink or how we were carrying ourselves at the rink. And having an older brother that went through it before I did, I think was a huge asset for me. Like, I'll be completely honest, I wasn't the most talented player. But I think what separated me from other people to allow me to get to the level that I played at was my compete level. And because I had an older brother, it was bigger, faster, and stronger. I always had to compete against them when we were playing those road hockey games, when we were playing on the pond. So I think that's what made me a better player, was because I had to compete against him. So when I play against kids my own age, I could compete and I can beat them. Right. So that definitely drove me. And even with my dad's a real competitive guy too. So when he was in his younger days, he would play on the driveway with us too. Obviously, being the smallest one out of all of us, I had to compete against him as well. So I think they just I don't even think they realized what they were doing at the time, but they were kind of nurturing my competitive spirit, I would say.
When I think about the importance of work ethic and how certain folks are just, they have some natural talent, but they don't have the work ethic to go with it. How important it is that you have the right spirit and the right coach, so to speak, to help you along, merge those two to bring out the best in people. So it's great to hear that you had that experience. So as someone who has been in this hockey world for quite some time now, what do you feel is most satisfying feeling when coaching these kids as they move on to the next level and into the adulthood?
The most satisfying thing for me, for sure, is just seeing them grow, seeing guys grow, seeing guys change. Like you said, it's not all about hockey. Hockey may be their first priority, but we want to grow them as people as well, right? Because hockey's not always going to be there. At some point, life comes after hockey. You can't play hockey till the day you die. So I think that's a big thing for me. And just thinking back to some previous players that I've had, especially with Black History Month coming up, I had a captain that played for us in North York when I was in North York for some time. And after he graduated, we had a conversation about him moving on to school. He went to U of T, and he said, he's another half Black kid. And he said, it was like, it was cool to have someone to look up to that is like me. So that's always something that's always kind of sat in my heart, and that's something that I've always wanted to push, and I've always wanted me to move on, because I always want that feeling. For him to say that to me and to be like, hey, like, you're a role model that looks like me, I like, that kind of struck my heart chords, and that's something that I'll always remember for the rest of my life.
Sounds like that was so meaningful. So with things like that occurring, in your coaching career, what are your coaching aspirations? I mean, what's your ultimate goal?
I think obviously that the ultimate goal for me would be to make the NHL, but right now I'm happy in the present. I love being in the Ontario Hockey League. I think it's such a special place. Those kids get to come to the rink every day. You get these amazing facilities in the Ontario Hockey League. You get to meet these amazing people. And I think it's just an amazing environment. And I think my first step in that goal would be to be a head coach in the Ontario Hockey League. I'd love to run my own program in the Ontario Hockey League, but I'm here in the present right now, and I'm here with the Niagara IceDogs, and I'm want to bring a championship back to Niagara and develop all those kids and give them those life lessons, and make sure they're ready to move on when they're ready to move on in life.
It sounds like you're on your way, man. I mean, seriously, I listen to your voice, and you have passion, and that's what it takes to be. That's one of the things, of course, that takes to be a great coach. It takes a lot more than just passion, but that's the one that drives you the most.
Appreciate that.
So coaching the IceDogs this season, there's been a very strong representation of Black players on your roster, such as Rodwin Dionisio and Landon Cato. Could you speak to the growth of the game to new cultures and people of different races and color, and what that means for the future of the sport as well?
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and that's kind of one thing that kind of drew me to Niagara. With me being, I may not be the most visible minority, but it is something that I take pride in, and seeing the past players they've had there. They've had Akil Thomas's, they had Elijah Roberts there too as well. You can see that Niagara is open, and they're willing to allow those guys to come in and grow and be in their culture. And having Landon and Rodwin in our culture has been amazing.
Great.
Just to touch on Landon first, like, he has one of the biggest personalities you will ever see around. He's a different cat, and he's got a lot of character, and he will be successful in life, and he will be a very successful person. And I think a lot of young Black players should look up to Landon. Away from the rink, he's a first-class person. I don't know if people really know this, but the young boy that kind of went viral on Twitter there, Desmond Garrett.
Yeah, I know Desmond.
Landon has sent Desmond an IceDogs t-shirt with Landon's number and name on it. And Desmond actually DM'd me the picture of him wearing it.
Yeah.
And like, that just kind of speaks to Landon's character. Like, he didn't do it for social media. He didn't do it and send anybody or tell anybody. He did it on his own merit. And that's just kind of the type of person that Landon is. But Landon's also the type of person you walk past the dressing room and he's in the middle of the room dancing, and he's the court jester, and he's cracking the jokes. But he's been such a pleasure to have, and to have Rodwin too. Rodwin's an interesting character too. He's a great kid. He's very soft spoken, but he's a funny story too. He's from Newark, New Jersey, actually, and his family moved to Switzerland. So he kind of has a mixture of everything, and he speaks I think 6 or 7 languages. And so he's a very smart kid. He's an intelligent kid, and I think he has a bright future in the game ahead of him too, with him being an 04 and how big and strong he already is, and how hard he can shoot that puck, and some of the offensive things that he can do that you can't teach. He's got a bright future, I think, in the game too. And it's been a pleasure to have both of them around the rink, and both of them to be a part of our culture.
The person in my role, it's always good to hear that not only are we having diversity in our game, but inclusion, where you feel like these players are a part of, or in the middle of the culture of a locker room, and not just on the fringes looking in and just kind of having to be there and do their own thing. So awesome to hear from my world. So
Sure.
the last question I have for you: what messages do you try to share with all players surrounding diversity and inclusion?
I'd just say, like, not everyone has been raised the same. Not everyone comes from the same background. Not everyone comes from the same circumstances. So when we get into a situation like in Niagara or anywhere in the Ontario Hockey League, it's a melting pot of people. And I think you have to have a growth mindset in those areas, because you have to get to know those guys personally if you really want to achieve your end goal of winning a championship or moving on to the National Hockey League, whatever it is. It's just a melting pot of people. And I think you can have your eyes open to so many different things in this world, and so many different things that you may find out that you like and you enjoy, but you don't know it's there. Right. So I think that's a big thing when it comes to diversity, just having an open mind. My parents raised me to be very accepting as a person. Obviously, like, they were, my dad being white and my mom being black, and they got married at a time where that wasn't really a thing, right? It was kind of frowned upon. Like, I remember my dad telling me stories about their marriage, and and the night they got married, my dad's family was on this side and my mom's family was on this side. It was kind of awkward until one of my uncles walked over and danced with my dad's aunt, and then now it was just one big huge party. And then they got to have a fruitful marriage and everything like that. So I think just diversity is just so important, and just having an open mind when it comes to stuff like that. Like, even the other day, we have a kid, Daniil Gushin, and he was in the rink after practice and stuff, doing his extra workout, and he's listening to Russian rap music. Right. And it's just like, it's just different. And you walk in the room, I was kind of like, the song sounds good, but I have no idea what this guy's saying. I turn around the corner and it's Daniil. I was like, is this Russian? He's like, yeah. He goes, it sounds good. And he was like, yeah, he goes, Russian rap's the best. So it's just having an open mind for all those things, and just accepting of people, right? And I think a lot of it is the way people are raised. So when they come into our culture and our locker room, we want to have everyone have an open mind and be accepting of everyone.
Hey, you're speaking my language right there. What's important for me in my role is to transcend that to the coaching staffs and the GMs, ultimately to the players. So to know that there's a person like you that's transcending that message on our behalf and the league's behalf, we can't thank you enough. It's very, very important, because representation matters, and you're part of that. So thank you so much for the opportunity to get a chance to meet you and learn a little bit about your past and your current, and hopefully for your future as well. This has been great.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Rico. Thank you for all the work you do for the league, and you do some great work, and just keep it up, and everyone will get there, and everyone will chase their goals and chase their dreams.
Yeah, you said it right. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
You're welcome.